Yeah, so just waiting for everyone to join. Let's get started after that. I hope I'm clearly audible and visible, everyone. Yeah, I. Hello, good evening, guys. Let's get started in a while. Waiting for folks to join. Uh, yeah, guys. So let's get started. I think we have enough people now. Hi guys, my name is Vaibhav. I'm an engineer at Browser Stack and an instructor at AccioJob. I will be taking the live session today. Um, so let's jump right into it. And yeah, guys, let's keep the session interactive. I will be keeping a tab on the chats. So any doubts, any queries that you have while we are going through it, just post it on the chat. Whenever we jump on it, we can discuss that. Okay? Okay? So let's get started. I'll just share my screen. Let me know if it is visible. So is my screen visible, everyone? Guys, can someone just say if it is visible? Yeah. Now I guess it is visible. Okay. Let's get started. Yeah. So I mean, this is the second. This is basically the second uh, live session on the fundamentals of programming series, and the topic for today is functions and arrays. Okay, so let's get started with functions and arrays. Um, so before starting, I just expect all of you to know the basics of programming, and this lecture will be done in Java. So I expect you guys to know basic Java syntax before we deep dive into how Java functions work and how the arrays work in Java. Okay? Yeah. So yeah. So in order to discuss about functions, let's jump back to class 10 algebra. Right. So how did we write a function in algebra? So I can just write f of x is equal to something. I mean, let's say f of x does something. F of x simply does x by 2 and returns this. Okay. So over here, the name of the function is f, and what is x? X is the input or the parameter of the function. Right? Everyone? So So in Java, how do I write a function? It is very similar to this algebraic function. I will just, it has a function name, it has an input, and apart from that, it has certain other things. So this is how a function in Java looks like. I can write public static int add int x comma int y, and this will return x plus y, something like this. Okay? Is this clear, guys? I mean, just give me 1 second. Yeah. So can someone just yeah. So can someone just indicate in the chat if the screen and audio everything is fine? We had some issues with that. Okay. So over here, this is a Java function, and this is the name of the function. These are the input parameters of the function, and this is basically the return type of the function. And we will be going through all of these one by one. So let's just discuss them in detail. So just like the function above, let's say I just want to create a function to add two numbers. I want to create a function to add two numbers. How will I write that? So it is taking the input of the two numbers that I want to add, right? And what will it return? It will return the sum of the two integers. What is the sum of the two integers? What data type is the sum of two integers? The sum of two integers is also going to be an integer, right? So the return type of this function, what is the output, or what this function is going to return to me, is going to be an integer only. So return x plus y, right? So let's just quickly write it in Java. Public static int at yeah. Now I can call this function from my main method and simply add two numbers. So I'll just print the output over here. So let's quickly save it and run it. Right? So the output of this is 5. I hope that is clear, everyone, how the function worked. Just don't bother about public and static right now. These are part of object-oriented programming that is specific to Java. Just think about this part: the return type of the function, the name of the function, the parameters or the inputs that the function is taking, and the value it is returning. Now, let's say I want to modify this function to add two numbers with decimal points or basically doubles. So I can take double input, double x and double y. So the sum of two doubles also is going to be a double, right? If I sum 5.5 and 3, what is going to be the sum? The sum is going to be 8.5, right? So I will have to modify my return type as well. I'll just modify this as double. Now, if I take input of any two doubles, like let's say 2.2 and 3.3, my return type is double, so I'll get a double output. It is 5.5, right? Now, there is another special kind of return type called void. Now, this kind of function does not return anything. It just performs its job and it basically terminates. So let's say I want to print hello world using a function. So that does not require me to return anything, right? I just have to print hello world. So I can just write a print statement over here. Yeah. And I can quickly save it, and I don't need this anymore. And I can call my function from my main method in a similar way. And let's run it. So the function is printing hello world and it is not returning anything. Is that clear, everyone? Okay. So now let's discuss, why do I need functions? I mean, I can write everything, all my code in the main method. So why will I be using functions? Why functions? Functions help to keep code clean and modular. Okay. Functions help to keep your code clean and modular. How so? So let's say that you are performing any specific operation. It does not have to be add or print hello world. It can be any complex task, more complex than add or printing hello world, obviously. So, and you are using that particular logic or that particular algorithm inside that function in multiple places on your code base. So in the real world, the code base is not just these 2 or 3 files or a single Java file. The code base is going to be thousands of Java files inside one folder. So over there, managing this same logic in different places, it is very useful to use functions. So you can write your logic in one place in a function and then call that function in multiple places in your program, and that is going to help you to keep your code clean and short. So let's say there is an average function. Average function that basically takes inputs and gives me the average of all those numbers, and I'm using this function on multiple places, right? Now let's say that there was a junior developer in my organization and that developer made some error in the average function, right? So now the easiest way to fix that error is to just edit that function, right? I can simply edit that function. Now, let's say that I was not using functions, rather I was implementing the average logic everywhere separately and not using functions. Then if that junior developer would have made a mistake with this, I would have to edit the logic of average in every place on my code base, and that would have created a very big problem for me. So that is why having functions keeps your code modular and clean, and it is very easy to debug. I hope that is clear, everyone. Okay. So now let's quickly jump onto the second part of things, which is arrays. So what are arrays? Let's start from the basics. Um, Arrays are contiguous block of memory that store a specific collection of same type of data. Right. So in the real world, I'm not going to be dealing with only one integer or only two integers like that. I'm going to be dealing with multiple number of integers, and those integers are going to have uh, and those integers are going to be inputted by the user. So I'm not sure how many integers are going to be there in my program. So that is why I need a collection of integers. I need a collection of integers that, and on those collection of integers or those collection of that particular data type, I am going to perform certain operations, right? So let's see how quickly how an array is declared in Java. So by just for index, I'm writing dt is equal to data type, right? So this is how an array is declared in Java. I will just write dt, these block brackets, then the name of the array, let's say I want to call it ARR, is equal to new, and then again dt, and over here I will pass in the size of the array. Let's say that the size is equal to 5. So I will pass in the size over here. Right? So what does this do? This allocates a contiguous block of memory of size is equal to 5 in my RAM. Now, by dt, I guess you may be confused. So let's try to declare an integer array. So I can replace this dt with any type of data type. Okay? So let's say I want to declare an integer array. So I can write integer brackets ARR is equal to new integer and then size. And let's say I want to create a double array. So double brackets ARR is equal to new double and then size. I hope this is clear, everyone. Now I can replace the dt with literally anything. It can be like integer and double I've already shown. It can be byte, it can be string, it can be boolean, and it can be non-primitive data types also, like integer, capital double, anything and everything is possible. You can create an array of all data types in Java. Okay? So now let's quickly declare an array over here. So I can say I'm creating an integer array, by the way. That's the simplest thing. Is equal to new int. Let's say that I want the size to be 5. Okay? So I'll just say 5, and after that I can now the array is declared, but how do I put values inside my array? Let's discuss that first. So let's just visualize, this is my RAM. This is my RAM, and it has blocks of memory. Okay? Right? So now in my definition of array, I mentioned the word contiguous. I mentioned the word contiguous. What do I mean by contiguous? Contiguous means that all the array elements are going to be placed in memory cells one next to the other. So let's say my array size is 5 over here, right? My array size is 5. So if this part of the memory is free, then this block of size 5 is going to be allocated for my array. It is going to be reserved for my array. Now you can see that there are 5 empty spaces where I can put my 5 integers. I hope that is clear. Now, how do you access or how do you put elements inside your array? Now, in order to do that, arrays are indexed. Arrays are indexed from 0. So if I just consider this array, this integer array, and I say ARR 0 is equal to 10. What is this thing going to do? This is basically going to populate the first index or basically the first memory location in my array with 10. Now, when I say that arrays are 0 indexed, I mean that array locations start from 0 and go till length of array -1. Okay, so the length of this array was 5. So the indices over here go from 0 till 4. So this is basically the 0th index. This is the first index. This is second, third, and fourth. Now, I hope this is clear. Very straightforward, right? If I say after this, if I say ARR of 3 is equal to 20, what can I say? Over here, where should I place 20? I can place 20 on the third index. So 20 will go over here. I hope this is clear, everyone. How can we create an array without size? So you need to take size input to create an array. Okay. So let's jump into the code back again. So over here, I have an array of size 5 created for me. I will say ARR 0 is equal to 10. I can just copy this line and I can populate all the array elements from 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's say I want to store 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. And now I want to print all these elements. So I'm not sure if loops was done in this class, but let's say I want to print the third element of the array. So I will say ARR 3. I want to print the third element of the array. If I save this and run, you can see that 40 is getting printed. So basically, the third element of the array, 40, was stored in that location. And when I call ARR 3, it refers to that the content of that memory location. Okay? Now, let's just quickly solve a question on arrays now. I hope. Let's just create an array of a different data type also. Let's say I want to create a string array. It will be a string, and I will have to store strings now in that array. So let's say I store a string hello, and ARR of 1 is equal to world. So the 0th index is storing hello, the first index is storing world. So if I just do ARR print, just printing this plus a blank space and then plus ARR of 1, I should get an output of hello world because hello is there and world is here. So hello world got printed. My string array is also working fine, and I hope it is clear to everyone. Yeah, so now let's jump into a quick question on arrays. So this is the AccioJob platform, and I mean, you can just write your Java code here in the IDE, and you can just execute it by submitting the code. You can also run you can also run any sample test cases over here. So let's try to solve this problem: circular array rotation. Now, John Watson is a random person. John Watson knows of an operation called right circular rotation on an array of integers. one rotation operation moves the last array element to the first position and shifts all the remaining element to the right one. To test the ability of Sherlock and Watson, Watson provides Sherlock with an array of integers. Sherlock is to perform the rotation operation a number of times and then determine the value of the element. ठीक है. So basically this question is the user is giving me an array of integers. The user is giving me an array of integers. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. ठीक है. This is the input and the user wants me to rotate this array k number of times. ठीक है. So let's say I want to rotate it once. So and the rotation is right rotation. ठीक है. So what happens when I rotate this array one number of times? Each element in the array will be shifted one place towards the right. So this will go here, this will go here, this will go here, this will go here. And now, is there any space left for this fifth element, this last element to go? It does not have any space. So what will happen is it will come to the first place. So can you see that all the elements shifted one place and this came over here and this makes a complete circle. And this is that is why this question is called array rotation. Okay? Now let's rotate the array once and check the output. So it is going to be 5 is going to come to the first place, 1 is going to the second place, then I have 2, 3 and 4. So this array is rotated once. If I rotate it again, I will see that the last element again comes to the first and this will move here. So 4, 5, 1, 2 and 3. This is rotated twice. And I can rotate it a few more number of times. Let's say I rotate it 3 times. So I will get 3, 4, 5, 1 and 2. After that, if I rotate it again, I will get 2, 3, 4, 5 and 1. And if I rotate it again, I will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is basically my original array. Is this clear, everyone? Guys, please keep the session responsive. I mean, if you have any doubts, you can just ask on the chat. Yeah. So let's proceed with this. Now, the key to writing good code is see, I have been given the variable names over here only. You can see that the example test case, the array is 3, 4 and 5 and it is being rotated 2 times. So in the first case, 5 will come in the front and in the second rotation, 4 will come in the front, right? So the output array should be 4, 5 and 3. Okay? And now the user is also giving me queries. What does query means? It is basically the index of the resultant array that the user wants me to return. So let's just take this example only. This entire input we can take, or let's just take this example test case only. And let's say I have 3, 4 and 5. The array is going to be rotated 2 times and the user wants the first and second index of the resultant array. So if I rotate it 2 times, it is going to be first rotation 4, 5 and 3, second rotation 5, in the first rotation it is going to be 5, 4 and 3, 5, 3 and 4, and in the next rotation it is going to be 4, 5 and 3, right? And the user wants the first and second index value. So this is the 0, 1 and 2. So the user wants me to return or print these two elements, right? So how will I proceed with this question? So in order to shift the elements, I can use a loop. And one problem that I can see while rotating the array is that I am going to overwrite the elements one on top of the other. So let's say I shift this towards this side and I shift this towards this side. Can you see any overwrite happening? So 2 is going to overwrite 3. So the output array is going to be 2, and then 1 is going to overwrite 2 and 1. Now, what should I place over here? I had to place 3 over here. But the problem here is 2 has overwritten 3. So what do I have to do? I have to save the last element in a temporary variable. So I will save 3 in a temporary variable, and after the ending of my iteration, I will simply write 3 inside this cell. I hope that is clear, everyone. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started with actually writing the code. Um, So over here, you can see that I have been given the variable names. So for good practice, I'm just going to use these same variable names. So n is basically the size of my array, k is the number of rotations, and q is the size of my queries. So I will just, first of all, in this platform, you have to write your entire code. From taking input to printing the results, you have to do the entire thing. So I will have to initialize a scanner as well. Let's say scanner sc is equal to new scanner. This is going to help me take the input. Now the first line of input is basically 3, 2 and 3. So 3 is basically my n, which is the size of my array. 2 is the number of rotations, and 3 again is basically the size of my queries. So I will just say int n is equal to sc dot next int n, int k is equal to sc dot next int, and again int q is equal to sc dot next int. Okay, so I have taken the first line of input over here. Now the next line of input is basically my actual array. The second line contains space separated integer where I describes an array element. So I have to take the array input. So I will use a for loop for that. And the number of elements I already know, which is n. So I will basically say int I is equal to 0, I is less than n, comma I plus plus. I will say arr of I is equal to sc dot next int. So what am I doing? I am basically initializing the 0th index. In the beginning, it is the 0th index of the array with the first element, and then the loop will go to the next iteration and the value of I will become 1. Now then I will initialize the second index of the array with a new element. Like this, it is going to proceed, and it is going to populate the entire array from the user. Okay? After that, the next values are basically queries. So I can use a for loop similar to this one to take my queries as well. So for int I is equal to 0, comma I is less than q, because the length of my queries is q. And then similarly I plus plus, I can do, I have to initialize my array as well. So int arr is equal to new integer array of size n, and I have to initialize an array for my queries. So int queries is equal to new int of size q. So I will just populate my queries now. Queries I is equal to sc dot next. I hope this is clear, everyone. The input part and the array initialization. Right. So till now I have taken, now at this point I have taken all my inputs. now I'm basically going to perform my logic, and after that we are going to optimize my the logic. So let's just say, so how many times do I have to rotate my array? I have to rotate my array k number of times, and I have taken the input of k. Can I simply run a for loop for k times and perform my rotation operation? Can I simply write a for loop and perform my rotation operation? So this is also a valid syntax in Java. What we can use curly braces, but when your for loop is only of length 1, you don't require curly braces. That is a shorthand, basically shorthand way of writing for loops. I mean, it is going to be useful for you. It looks cleaner sometimes, so you can use the curly braces as well. No problem with that. Is that clear? Yeah, please keep it responsive, everyone. Just keep responding if your queries are clear. Now let's just implement our actual logic. So I have to perform rotation k number of times. So I think one thing is clear, that I have to run a for loop for k number of times. So I can say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than what? I is less than k. And again, I plus plus, similar for loop. I can write my logic inside, but tell me, guys, was there a better way? Was there a better way to write your logic that we have just discussed a few moments earlier? Should I write my logic just like that, or should I use a function? Tell me. Tell me. I want to hear it from you. Should I write the logic just as it is, or should I use a function to write the logic? Okay, no response. I will just write the logic like this, and later on we can modify it if necessary. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, as discussed before, I need a temporary variable. So I will create a temporary variable, and I will store the last element of the array in that temporary variable, which is 3. Then I am going to move the elements over here one by one, and then I am going to assign the first element with the temporary variable. So I can say int temp is equal to ARR, the last element. What is the last element of the array? It is basically ARR of n minus 1. And after this, I want to shift all the array elements once towards the right. So I will use a for loop that runs from n minus 2, which is the second last index of the array, till 0. So for int j is equal to n minus 2, j is greater than or equal to 0, comma j minus minus. What is this going to do? This is going to shift the array elements. So I want to shift it towards the right. So I can say ARR of j plus 1 is equal to ARR j. And then after this for loop has executed, I can initialize the first element of my array with the temporary variable. So ARR of 0 is equal to temp. Okay. Now I think the rotation operation is done, and finally I just have to return the queries, whatever values that were required. I mean, whatever values the user is asking me to return. So again, I can use a for loop to print the results. For int I is 0, and then I is less than queries, comma I plus plus. I will just return or print array का queries का I. Okay, so let's take this sample input of itself, and let's try to run it against our code. So I am getting 2, 3, and 1, and the expected output is matching. It is 2, 3, and 1 only. I can try to submit it. It passed all the test cases, But tell me, guys, is there a way to optimize this solution? Do you know of a way in which I can optimize this solution? Just indicate in the chat if you guys can think of a way to optimize this solution. So we have already discussed the optimal approach previously, but I want you guys to remember what did we do to optimize it? We optimized it. We can optimize it by actually performing one simple arithmetic operation. You can see that in the first rotation, this is the state of the array. In the second rotation, this is the state. In the third rotation, this is the state. In the fourth rotation, this is the state. And in the fifth rotation, I get my original array back. So what does that mean? It means that if I rotate the array n number of times, and what is n? N is basically the length of the array. If I rotate the array for the number of times equal to its length, I will get the original array back. So let's say that the user had input. Let's say the user had input 1, 2, and 3 and asked me to rotate the array, let's say 31 times. If the user did that, will I be performing the rotation 31 times? Is it necessary? After every third rotation, I will get back the original array, right? So can I say that after 3, then 6, then 9, then 12, and then 15, so on till the 30th iteration, I will get the original array back in these specific iterations? Can I say that? So what am I going to do? I am basically going to rotate the array. I'm not going to rotate the array till the 38th. I'm just going to do it for the 31st. And how do I do that? I can just do k is equal to k mod n. What will this do? This is going to I'm basically performing a modulus operation on k. So if the value of k is equal to 31 and I do k is equal to k mod 3, what is going to happen? The remainder is 1. So k is equal to 1. I need to rotate the array only once. And this is going to simulate the behavior of rotating the array 31 times. Is this clear, everyone? So what am I basically saving? Instead of running the iteration 31 times, I have reduced it to just one time. This is saving me CPU time. And this is one of the most important resources, right? Yes. So even if k is not greater than n, let's say k is equal to 2, right? So even then, if I perform k is equal to k mod n, then also the value of k will remain 2 if n is greater than k. So I can perform this operation unconditionally, right? There is no condition. I don't have to do anything. So if I do 2 mod 3, the remainder is still going to be 2. If I do 6 mod 3, the remainder is going to be 0. If I do 7 mod 3, the remainder is going to be 1. So I can perform this particular operation unconditionally and optimize my solution. But that won't change anything over here, but it is going to save time. That is for sure. So just before running this, I can do k is equal to k mod n. And I can just run my cases once again. I'm getting the same output and I can submit my code again. I'm getting the correct answers. So I hope this question is clear, everyone. Now, I mean, just in a few moments back, we discussed that we want to keep our code modular and keep every specific part of logic in separate functions. So can I say that this particular block of code is logic? Can I say this particular block of code is the central logic of my program? N minus 2. Okay. So I'll just explain that quickly and then we can. For I for int I is equal to n minus 2, comma I is greater than equal to 0, comma I minus minus, and I am performing this operation. So and my ARR is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. Let's say this. What is n minus 2? What is the length of my array? N is equal to 4, right guys? And can you tell me what is the value of the last index of my array? Can you tell me what is the value of the last index? The last index of my array, this is 0, 1, 2, and 3. So the last index of my array is 3, right? So n minus 1 is equal to 3. And this particular value I have already stored in my temp variable. Now I want to start shifting from the second last element, right? I want to start shifting from the second last element. So what do I want? I want to shift 3 to the last, then 2 to the second last, then 1 to the third last, like this. So this I have extracted in my temporary variable. Then from n minus 2, so the initial value of I is equal to 2. I move 3 from the second index to the third index. Then I move 2 from the first index to the second index. Then I move 1 from the 0th index to the first index. And then finally, I say that my temporary variable, my first place in my array is the temporary variable. So this will be 4. I hope this is clear now, everyone. Is this clear, everyone? Yes. So now let's just extract the central logic of the program into a function. I can just write a function over here. Public static. And guys, can you tell me what is going to be the return type of this function? Am I going to return anything in the rotation? I'm just modifying my array. So do I have to return anything? Do I have to return anything, guys, over here? I don't have to return anything. So I'm going to say void. Public static void, and let's call it rotate. And the input is going to be the array. It is going to be an integer array. And I can simply copy this entire for loop and paste it over here. I'm just going to verify if everything is right. ARR, the variable name is right, and I can call my rotation here. And I can pass in the array. What else does this function take? It is going to take nk. Anything else? No. So comma int n, comma int k, comma n, comma k. Yeah, so it gave me the same output. But now the thing is that my main function has reduced in size, and I have a separate rotate function that I can use anywhere else in my code base as well. I hope this is clear, guys. Is this clear, everyone? Please indicate in the chat if it is. Okay, so now let's discuss the time complexity of this problem. So over here, the problem is the for loop is running for n times. This is basically the input part. So how many iterations does it require? So this involves the user, right? So this is not actually my concern, because this involves the user. The user can take any amount of time to give me the input, right? So what do I want the time complexity of? I want the time complexity of the central logic of my program, which is this rotate. So see, over here, I have a for loop that is running for k number of times. And inside, I have another for loop that is running from n minus 2 till 0, right? So let's just copy this very quickly, and I'll take it over here. I'll just format it very quickly. Yeah, ठीक. Hmm. So I can see that I have this for loop which is running for k number of times, and this for loop is running from n minus 2 till 0. So how many times is this loop running? How many times are these both loops running? This is running from 0 to k, and this is running from 0 to n minus 2, right? So can I say that my time complexity is big O of k into n minus 2? I can say this. And because these are nested for loops, that is why I'm going to multiply these two values. And now, since this is time complexity, I will be just ignoring the constant over here. So I can just say this is O of n k. This is basically the time complexity of this problem. I hope it is clear, everyone. Any other doubts that you have so far from today's session, guys? Anybody wants any other explanation? Do you want me to go over anything that we have discussed today? Just indicate in the chat if you want me to do anything, explain anything else. Okay, I think that is it for today's lecture. And thank you guys for the session. See you in the next one. Bye bye.